Nerf Desolator mod guide. Let's get into this, guys. This is actually a commission for a friend of mine, so I'm not sure if he has batteries in this thing or not, but that's the first thing you want to do is check and see if it has batteries in it and take those out if it does. So get a number 1 screwdriver there. Take this out, no batteries, so we're good there. I'm going to go ahead and leave this off because we're going to have to completely gut this to make room for a 2S LiPo. And so, I mean, if you're going to rewire it, you might as well rewire it for a LiPo, in my opinion. You could do the same guide and wire it up to the battery tray and use, IMRs or something like that. That'd be fine too, but I highly recommend a LiPo if you guys have not gotten into LiPo. So let's go ahead and turn it over now and undo these screws. Okay, so all the screws are the same size except for the 2 in the tack rail and the 1 right here connecting this little part. So just those 3 screws are slightly shorter, everything else is the same size, and let's get this guy open now. Sometimes it helps to have a little flat head to try to get it open, especially the first time around, because it can be a little tough sometimes. You just want to make sure you got all the screws out, you didn't miss anything, and you don't force anything. Alright guys, that is very difficult to get apart. Just be careful. Try to take a flat head and get in there and work it apart the best you can. Just be very careful and don't pull anything. It should come apart. There's nothing solid welded. It's a very tight fit, and there's a lot of extra pieces. Like there's a lot of parts that come apart. So I think that's why it's a little bit more secure than most Nerf blasters. So and a lot of things clip in. There's some like this part clips in, but this whole black part here comes apart from this white part. But since we're not painting this blaster, I'm not going to worry too much about that and try to just keep it all together as one piece as much as possible. This is basically the same as a Stryfe. So if you have a Stryfe, this rewire will be pretty much the same. The wires will probably just run in a little different direction. I know the motors are flipped the other direction on a Stryfe, and the Stryfe, the wires will run this round in this area, and then the battery tray is located more right here instead of back here, but the same 1 switch wiring diagram will work for this, the Stryfe. The Demolisher is a little different because of the where it has to go to the other side of the shell, but still pretty much the same. And then there's a lot of other Stryfe reshell blasters out there, but yeah, this should work for pretty much all of those. So if you have a different style blaster, this should still be able to help you out. Alright, now we have to gut this thing. We are going to replace the motors with some honey badgers, so that'll be awesome. We're going to add a voltmeter, and we're going to replace the switch and redo all the wiring. So pretty much everything needs to come out. Alright, go ahead and desolder these guys. Simple as that. Just make sure you have a nice hot iron and just wait until that solder flows, and then you can just kind of use your tool to pull it off. Alright, now we need to get these motors off. So we can go ahead and we're going to have to take this black part off so we can get these off. Just keep this because you're going to want that at the end, most likely. So take your flathead screwdriver and go ahead and pop this off. You just pull these tabs back, and that's how you get into the flywheel cage. So there and there, there's 4 tabs. Just push them in and push up a little bit, and that should come right off. Okay, it helps to have 2 equally length flathead screwdrivers here, so you can remove these flywheels. And the easiest way to do that is to put them inside these holes and just push up. Just push up like that. They should top right off. So we have our Honey Badger motors here, and they will not fit in here without doing a slight modification to this. So we have these ribs along here, and we have to trim those down slightly. You don't have to do, I wouldn't trim them all the way off because that'll probably make it too loose. You still want a tight fit on your motor because the tighter fit, the less vibration and the more performance you'll get. So a good way to do that is with an X-Acto blade or a knife. Okay, so one of them I already got fit. I got this one cut out and we're ready to place it. Just make sure all the junk is out of there. So you want to make sure when you put these in that they're opposite. So this has a red dot here, so you want the red dot on the other side here because you want them spinning in opposite directions so it'll shoot out the dart. So we'll go ahead and press that in. You should have a good fit. That's pretty good. And you want to make sure that it comes flush with the bottom here. If it doesn't come flush, then you're going to have to either take more away or you're going to have to force this in a little bit harder. But it should have a good, that's like perfect, very tight fit, but went in somewhat easily with just a slight bit of pressure. So there we go. And now we can go ahead and put our flywheels on and get ready to wire this up. This is 18 AWG wire. I wouldn't go anything less than this, but you don't want it too thick if you want to get it under this piece and try to keep that kind of stock look. It keeps it cleaner, and 18 AWG should be fine for 130 motors, so we're going to go ahead and use that. Alright, now we got our wires connected to each motor, and we're going to go ahead and test polarity to see which side is positive and negative. If you want these to be color coordinated, then I would check before you solder these on, but I really don't care. I mean, you could have done these in the same color wire. It really doesn't matter. But we'll go ahead and see which way they're spinning. So that's spinning the wrong way, so this black is actually the positive and the red's actually the negative. So we'll go ahead and solder red wire to this, black to that for now, and it'll be correct. And that works just fine. Okay, so I've got my motors wired up. I connected the Dean's connector here so I can remove this and service this or replace the motor cage at some point if I wanted to, or the client wants to. Okay, so I've gone ahead and run my wires up through here, and I had to snip off there's a little peg right here that this locks into just because these wires are too fat now. But I was able to keep this one and this one. You probably won't be able to screw this screw. I think there's a screw that goes right in there. You won't be able to use that one, but I did keep this, and this. That should be fine, and that should be locked in there just fine now. So. Okay, so I think I have this basically where I want it. It's basically, personal preference. There's obviously more than one way you can mount this switch and where to mount it, but you want to have it where obviously it's not pressing when it's in its resting position, and then when you push it, it shoots the spring off into outer space. Luckily I found that. Hard to do and show on camera right now, but you want it, obviously it has to press this in when you push on it. So I usually try to get this resting right up against it, and then when you push on it, I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but there you go. So that's what you want. Okay, so I just made the connection here. This is the normally open tab. That wire goes back to your motors. And then we're going to connect a wire here. It's going to run, I'm going to actually run it around this way, and that's going to go to your battery. So this is the common, this is the normally open. Normally open goes to the motor, common goes to the battery. Pretty simple. Alright, made the final connection here. Goes to the positive part of your connector or battery tray, depending on what you're doing. Then the negative obviously comes to either your negative terminal of the battery tray or to your LiPo connector of choice. That's pretty much the wiring diagram. It's just a one switch setup, so nothing too complicated, and we'll go ahead and put everything back into place. I did just do a test with the AA pack, which I always recommend doing that first before testing with a LiPo, but I've done that, it seemed to work, so now we're ready to try it out with a LiPo. Seems to be working fine. One more thing that I think I'm going to do before I work on the voltmeter, which I think I'm going to actually put on the other side, is I like to extend my trigger reach just a tad by trimming this back. Right here there's a little part, I just trim this plastic back, and that gives you just a little bit more reach with this arm. So I don't know how well you guys can see that, but I just trimmed just a tad, maybe a millimeter off of that, just making it a little bit longer, so then this will push a little bit further. Okay, this is one last look at everything before I put it back together. I think we're good to go. I've actually cleared out a little bit more of the battery tray just because the wires are so thick on the battery I'm using. It's very difficult to get out once you get it in, so I just wanted to give it as much space as possible, so I trimmed off this post here. This post has been trimmed. This has been trimmed back more, and same with this side. Pretty much as far as it really can go. I've obviously put in my voltmeter and switch on this side of things, so you got a switch here, voltmeter there, and then I've connected, this is an XT30 connector, which is smaller but just fine for, you know, the power of voltmeter draws, so, and that just allows me to disconnect this and then be able to work on both sides of the shell, so pretty cool there, and it just tucks away inside the stock there when I'm done, so we'll go ahead and put this thing back together. So we're done with the Desolator mod here. It's got a pretty sweet voltmeter now. I don't know if you can read that, but it's this is a battery and storage, but it's going to be okay for the test. It's just under 7.6 volts at 7.59 there, and let's go ahead and fire it. Pretty sweet, a couple whirly birds in there, but that's to be expected sometimes with flywheel blasters when they're high powered. But yeah, pretty awesome performance, and what a better day to shoot the guy off than after it's just snowed. So I just wanted to show you guys the blaster in a little bit of low light here so you can check out this voltmeter. I think the mod turned out really awesome. Very simple mod to do. Highly recommend this if you guys have never done a rewire of a blaster before. I think this is a good place to start. The Honey Badger motors are a good upgrade for this, considering the lack of size here for the LiPo. A 2S is probably about the max you can get in here. You might be able to find a 3S to fit in there, but 2S, you can get a pretty juicy 2S in there, no problem. And those will run those motors awesome. So that's a pretty good place to go. I think the switch here for the voltmeter is pretty awesome, and this placement I think has worked out pretty well. Yeah. and it makes a lot of noise. Sorry about that. So yeah, I think that turned out pretty sweet, and can't wait to get this back to the commissioner, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching. Peace out.